Strategies always produce a state of dependence when it comes to mental health. This is a rather astonishing thing, because in the field of mental health we do very little else but talk about strategies the whole time. It's no exaggeration to say that we're practically obsessed with strategies and techniques and skills. Our idea of someone who has been equipped to deal with whatever mental health problems they might have or run into from day-to-day life is somebody who has it's as if it's a person who has a huge big sack which they're carrying around with them, absolutely stuffed with strategies. One for every occasion, we might say. When we put it like this, it sounds a bit strange, because as soon as we put it like this, we can see that actually this is rather a preposterous way to go around the world, to go around in life, equipped with a massive stack of strategies. It's a huge encumbrament. Where are we going to keep all these strategies? Obviously we keep them inside our head, so our head is full with all these encumbrances. When it comes down to it, this is virtually indistinguishable from the obsession that we have with knowledge. Which isn't to say that knowledge isn't a good thing. It's very, very handy to have a certain amount of practical knowledge in our heads, especially with regard to those situations which we might customarily find ourselves in. That's only normal and natural. If we take it too far, though, we end up in this situation thinking the more stuff we have in our heads, the better we are equipped to live. So this is going beyond the field of mental health care into the field of everything, life itself. There is a tendency to believe that positive knowledge, information, what we call information, is the answer. So this is based on an understanding of life, where life is a endless series of different situations, and those sometimes the situations are difficult, but when they are difficult, we know that there's got to be an answer somewhere. And so if we have all the answers, then we're going to be better off in terms of living life, because we can navigate whatever difficulties life throws at us. So what we're really doing is outsmarting life. We're staying one step ahead of it, one step ahead of life. So we almost certainly never spell it out like that, but that is what the basic assumption is. That's where we're coming from, this idea that there's a fix for every situation, or a hack for every situation. And what this ultimately comes down to is the idea that life can be solved. Again, when we put it like this, it makes us feel not quite right about it, because in some way we do know that life is not something to be solved. We know that's an unhealthy way to look at things. But even though we know that it's an unhealthy way to look at things, that's how we do look at things. It's just that we never look at the way in which we look at things. Because if we did, we'd know it was unhealthy. We'd know that all this emphasis on fixing is unhealthy. Hypothetically speaking. we could run a little thought experiment. So I could say, here I am sitting here, and in this thought experiment I actually have the answer to every conceivable difficult situation that life will throw at me, or may throw at me. So what does that feel like for me? Obviously that's an immense amount of security, and because it represents a huge amount of security, I'll feel very secure, which is a good feeling. I feel safe. I feel confident. I could very easily get smug and arrogant even. But then moving on from there, what I've actually ended up with is a situation where life can no longer challenge me. Life is no longer an adventure. It's just a matter of joining the dots. It's just like doing a word game or a puzzle or something like that. Because the solution is always already there. I've already done it. I've already lived life. So I'm going to get bored. I have in effect defeated myself. I've been too smart for my own good. Now, of course, that can never happen. Will never happen. If you think it will happen, and I would say that very few people are daft enough to believe that this can be this safe or secure situation can be ever engineered. But if I did happen to believe naively that this was possible, all I'd have to do is carry on with my life for a little bit longer to be reminded of the fact that no, actually, this never happens. It never happens that we have all the answers for life. Even very, very, very smart people don't have the answers. In fact, it's probably true to say that really, really smart people are at an even greater disadvantage because they might think they have the problem solved, so that they're going to be more disillusioned, they're going to be more rigid in their relationship with life. So smartness isn't the answer at all. So coming back to mental health, people would say, if you said this to them, people in the field of mental health, they would say, well, that's not true. You're actually spouting a whole load of nonsense there. Of course strategies are important for mental health. Of course, of course, of course, of course. We all know it. Everyone knows it. How can you say such a thing? What are you, an idiot or a troublemaker or what? Looking for attention? Etc., etc. But it is very, very easy to show how strategies disempower us. All mental health strategies, and I really don't like that word, but I can't think of any other word to use, it's the word which is used, are there to help us improve our mental health, obviously. So if I'm not relaxed, I can have a kind of a thing that I do to become relaxed, or a bit more relaxed. Obviously no one's necessarily claiming that strategies can achieve perfection, but they can help. So it is said, so we are led to believe. So even just taking this very simple example, which is no different to any other example you might want to move on to, but just this very simple example of supposing I'm not relaxed, supposing I'm stressed out or anxious. So I want to do a thing to be not feeling so bad, to have a bit more peace in my life. to be not anxious. So the difficulty here, which we don't immediately spot, or if ever spot, is that I've sold myself the idea that if I want to be at peace in myself, I have to do the thing. So there's peace over there, peace of mind. And that's great. But if I want to have it, I have to do the thing. So very, very clearly, I am dependent upon the thing, whatever that thing is. It doesn't really matter what the thing is. It could be absolutely anything at all. That's irrelevant. Now, supposing that the thing does have a certain facility, whatever it is, it could be progressive muscular relaxation. It could be listening to it could be listening to something, some kind of music or guided relaxation or something like that, or the sound of the rain or something like that. And let's suppose that it does help me. Now that might seem like a good thing, but it isn't really, because as we all know, with regard to dependencies or addictions, when the thing that we do to make us feel better actually works, that means we get addicted a hell of a lot quicker, and we get more addicted. If it worked just a tiny little bit, there wouldn't be so much of a problem. If it didn't work at all, then I'd never do the thing again, because what's the point in doing the thing if the thing doesn't have any reward factor? No one does things without a reward factor. So if there is a reward factor, then that's where I'm going to get dependent upon it. But there is something fundamentally wrong here. And what is so wrong is that peace of mind is really innately ours. It's fundamentally ours. It's in our very nature. It's intrinsic to us. That's the word I was trying to think of. It's intrinsic to us. So what we've done with this exercise is that we've separated it from us, so that it's no longer intrinsic to us, but extrinsic. And because it's extrinsic, I have to do some kind of strategy or enact some kind of protocol in order to have it. Now, if I can do the strategy and bang, I have the peace of mind, that might seem great, but it isn't. It's the thin edge of the wedge. Because I've been sold an idea, and because I'm so glad to find an easy way to get peace of mind, I'm not going to be questioning too much. I'm not going to be looking the gift horse in the mouth. I'm just going to be thinking, great. Because I really, really do appreciate having a bit more peace of mind when I'm suffering with anxiety or worry or stress. But actually I've been disempowered, I've been disenfranchised, because that peace of mind is intrinsic, which means I shouldn't have to do something to get it. Once I start believing that I do, then the middleman is all powerful. I'm a slave to the thing that I have to do. I'm a slave to the strategy. I am dependent upon the strategy. So everything's been turned on its head. My own natural nature of being peaceful, which is to be found within me, and which is actually there, if only in potential the whole time, has now become a goal, something that has to be won or successfully struggled for. And this is a very insidious kind of a thing. Now it could be said that strategies are only temporary, that once you get a bit more familiar with peace of mind as a possibility that it's possible for me to feel a certain amount of peace, then eventually I can ditch the strategy. I'm not going to have to be dependent on it forever. So I can ditch the strategy, just like I can ditch a crutch if I have a broken leg, and then eventually when my leg heals, I don't need the crutch anymore. Now this is true for crutches and that kind of thing, for things that aren't to do with mental health. So crutches for mental health is a very different matter. As we ought to know there's no such thing as using a crutch for mental health, and eventually the need for the crutch gets rid of itself somehow and we don't need it. We ought to know that any sort of crutch at all, and our dependence upon it grows and grows and grows and grows. Because there's only one principle in mental health, really, and that is, if we imagine there is such a thing as a shortcut, or we imagine there is such a thing as a crutch, we've weakened ourselves. And once we start weakening ourselves, the chances are very much that we're going to carry on weakening ourselves and become weaker and weaker and weaker. So our dependence grows and grows and grows. So within the field of mental health, or within mental health as a whole, there are no easy answers. And well-being is not to be found as a result of easy answers. So another way of putting that is to say, when we have no peace of mind, when we are anxious or really stressed out or feeling bad in whatever way, really, we have to work with the reality of that situation in order to find peace within it. We have to find the peace that is in anxiety, say. And then once we've done that, our ability to be peaceful in life is enhanced. Our ability to be peaceful in the times in our life when we aren't anxious is actually enhanced. So in other words, we're not looking for a quick fix, or we're not looking for something to cure the immediate problem. But we are using what seems to be the problem, and which in practical and everyday terms is a problem. We're using it in order to have more capacity for life as a whole. And so in that case, once we consider it in that way, we can see that the so-called problem isn't a problem, but actually it's an opportunity for us to develop an increased capacity to be in life, the good times and the bad times, the hard times and the easy times. But there's no strategy, there's no method, and there can't be, because if there was, what that really comes down to is finding a way around the state of mind that I'm in at the moment, which is so difficult. I'm trying to shortcut it. I'm trying to get around it to the good stuff that lies on the other hand, so I don't have to go through it, which of course is perfectly understandable. Of course we'd understand this. Of course we'd sympathize with this. But that doesn't change the reality of the situation. That it is only if I can find peace in this difficult state of mind that's happening to me right now, this current state of mind, that I will ever be able to get peace of mind. If I invest in methods or ways to work around it that aren't by definition any kind of method or strategy, isn't me accessing my inner strength and the resources that are available to all of us. By definition, strategies are nothing to do with inner strength. If I had inner strength, I wouldn't need a strategy. If I need a strategy, it's because I don't have inner strength, or I think I don't have inner strength. And then when I get dependent upon that strategy, I become even more cut off from my own inner strength, which could possibly be equated to what often gets called resilience. In some way, we can, of course, say that it is related to resilience. And a lot of professional healthcare people seem to think resilience is cured or created by having lots of strategies, which only goes to show how completely confused we are, fundamentally confused, if we think that resilience comes about as a result of learning strategies. Resilience or inner strength means that we don't need strategies. So then I could ask, well, that sounds great. How do I go about getting inner strength? Is there possibly a strategy there that you can tell me about? And of course, there isn't, for very obvious reasons. But we can, by going through the difficult situations that we are going through, without desperately looking for strategies or ways out the whole time, we can access our inner strength. Now, it's a peculiar sort of thing because it's a bit like saying that we can learn to swim through drowning. We have to be in a difficult situation and be in the situation which is also difficult because we can't see any way out of it, and we don't have any frameworks to hold on to or any methods to trust to give us this belief that there is a way out of it. So we have to let ourselves fall without any means of support, and no one can reassure us it's going to be okay, because if they do, that's a strategy. The strategy is to find someone to reassure you that it's going to be okay. That's a very well-known strategy, as it happens, of course, and that's no good either, because that's another dependency. In practice, it doesn't work anyway, because we don't believe the person that's telling us it's going to be okay. We certainly don't believe a word they're saying. We think they mean well, but we also think that in our case, their well-meaningness is also foolish, because we know that it isn't okay, and that whatever they say isn't going to help us. We know that they're kind of just saying things to try and help us, really. So inner strength comes about as a result of not looking for strategies. Or if we do find that we're looking for strategies, which we do automatically, realizing that this is a futile thing that we're doing because no strategy is going to work, because they're just going to make things worse. So it's okay to be looking for strategies, as long as we don't keep on telling ourselves it's going to work, this is going to work, this is going to work, and that's lying to ourselves, because on one level we know that it isn't. So instead of positively thinking and telling ourselves it's going to work, and existing in a state of denial to our own deeper knowledge that it won't, what we do is look for the strategies or search for fixes or solutions, but be very aware the whole time this is a pure mechanical response on our part, and it's not going to work. It's just our automatic searching for security. And because we have this awareness going on, that means that we're actually accepting the situation as it is, instead of believing that there is a way out of it. Just a bit further on, there's some ray of hope. And because we're not fixated upon this ray of hope or this happy outcome further on, we're actually being in the difficult situation, unaided, as it were. And that's how we develop inner strength. Okay, thanks for watching.